So the first of the matches in this split weekend, match day 26, was at Molineux on Friday night. Wolves at home to Leicester. On paper, looked an attractive fixture. I saw very brief highlights, so it was anything but. However, surprisingly, Moutinho and Traore were on the bench. Nino Espirito Santo obviously getting into line with future challenges in Europa League and others. Leicester were unchanged. Chowdhury still in midfield for Ndidi, and Vardy was making his 250th appearance. Early chances, well, there wasn't a lot of chances really. The first half, Giotto had a half a chance, but Schmeichel's left foot blocked the effort. Then Dendoncker on 17 minutes had a header which went just wide, and Schmeichel again, this time very poor clearance, let in Neto, but he managed to scoop it over. And just before the break, poor header from Jimenez. But we anyway, 2 minutes before the break, Wolves did take the lead. Bolly jumping up in the 6-yard box and heading home after some good work by Johnny. But the problem was it got referred to VAR, and that Johnny, well, he got a heel in an offside position, so it was chalked off. So goalless at the break. Second half, nothing really happened apart from a second yellow for Chowdhury for a clumsy challenge. So Leicester went down to 10 and they had to survive the last 15 minutes. They managed to do that really relatively comfortably on 80 minutes, so Jimenez should have got the winner, but his header went well wide. So it finished goalless. Leicester hardly had a shot on target. In fact, they were very poor. Wolves deserved to take this one, but it ended up at Molineux, Wolves 0, Leicester 0. So let's get to some Premier League action. We haven't had much lately. It's week 26. It's an early Saturday fixture at St Mary's. Southampton at home to Burnley. Southampton, Redmond pulled out injured in the warm-up. Ginepri was on the bench. He'd been ill the previous couple of days. So they had Long and Ings up front. Burnley still without Barnes, so Rodriguez still in for him. Early action, a corner for Burnley on the left. And Westwood took the ball right-footed, and it went towards the near post. Ings was standing there, but for some reason only known to himself, he let it go, and it was right next to the post, and the goalkeeper tried to retrieve it, but by the time he got across, it had sort of crossed the line. It was then clipped away and then put home by me, but in fact it had already gone over the line. A dreadful defensive lapse, and Burnley were 1-up. So after that, Saints recovered a little bit, were in possession most of the time, putting pressure on the Burnley defence. 16 minutes, Saints again guilty of lapses in their defence. Good going forward, but Burnley looking dangerous on the break, particularly McNeil. 17 minutes though, a typical goal by Ings, who's been a hot shot this season, a poacher's goal, latched onto a ball just outside the box, hit a sweet drive into the right corner to Pope's left. He had no chance and we were level 1-1. A few minutes later, Burnley had a setback when Wood was pulled up and he had to be replaced by Vidra. A rare start for Vidra. 25 minutes, menacing cross from the left, and Stevens managed to get a touch to it and deflected it onto the bar. On 33 minutes, Vidra into the action with a half chance, but it was easy for the keeper, Gunn. and then Bofol had to be replaced, injured, by Ginepri on 37, but we reached the break and it was 1-1. Into the second half, and Southampton were doing most of the pressing. Few half chances for Ings and Long, who were always threatening, but we got to minute 54 and it was still level 1-1. The conditions were deteriorating, a lot of torrential rain, high winds, making it a miserable afternoon for the spectators and quite difficult for the players. 60 minutes then, a speculative cross from Hendrick from the right found Vidra on the left, and he superbly controlled the ball, then swivelled and created a yard of space and hit a left foot shot, a beautiful strike which hit the top left hand corner to put Burnley back in front. 71 minutes, McCarthy, very shaky punch as Burnley continued to threaten and looking for a third. After that, Saints went in hunting for the equaliser. Rodriguez had a chance on 88, but McCarthy punched it clean, and that was another opportunity for Burnley. But basically they run out of gas, Southampton. Final score at St Mary's was Southampton 1, Burnley 2. So it's bottom versus top, Norwich versus Liverpool, the late game on Saturday. Team news, Liverpool still without Mane, although he did manage to make the bench. Oxlade-Chamberlain deputising up front alongside Firmino and Salah. Otherwise, Liverpool very much at full strength. Norwich, surprisingly, Buendia on the bench. Early action, then 10 minutes. A lovely crossfield ball from Henderson found Firmino on 10 minutes, who managed to control the ball beautifully, but his effort was well blocked. Then on 32 minutes, Keita had an effort, a shot, but it was fairly tame and went wide. First meaningful attack for Norwich on 35. A great ball over the top of defence, out on the left, and the ball was fed to Pukki, but Alisson managed to get a hand to it. Liverpool generally having the better of the play, but it arrived at half-time goalless. Into the second half then, some neat passing by Norwich. Once again found Pukki, and he hit the stanchion this time. That was on 51 minutes. 6 minutes later, another effort from Keita, which was tipped over by Krul. Liverpool once again having the better of things, but they certainly weren't firing on all cylinders. There was an effort from Salah, which was thwarted, and the follow-up from Keita wasn't particularly prolific. Great opportunity on 71 minutes for Norwich. Tete had come on as sub, hit a snapshot which hit the bottom of the post and surprised Alisson. And then finally, after they brought on Mane as a sub, it was him who managed to open the scoring on 77. A delightful finish after once again some neat passing between the Reds. Henderson very influential in the move, and Mane swiveled and hit a nice strike into the corner to put Liverpool 1 up. After that, Norwich really sort of fell away. Firmino could have made it 2, but the last 10 minutes was easily handled by Liverpool. Got to full time then, and so Liverpool had won again. This time, just by the single goal. Full time at Carroll Road was Norwich 0, Liverpool 1. So to the first of Sunday's matches then. This was at Villa Park, Aston Villa at home to Spurs. Grealish, captain now for Villa, proudly led them out. Of course, no Eriksen, he's scuttled away to Inter Milan now. Engels was in for the injured Mings, and Reina retained in goalkeeping duties. Heaton's got quite a long-term injury. Samato was retained, and for Spurs, let's have a quick. Davis returned after a long stint on the sidelines. Of course, Rose has gone now, and Celso was on the bench. Dyer put in at the start. Burbin continued to play for Spurs. He's their new siren. More up front. Of course, still no Harry Kane. Early on then, an interesting piece of challenging in very heavy Cornier on Son, and that set the tone really of a match that was really good on the eye but extremely physical. There was an unnecessary foul from Oreo on Grealish, and he repeated the heavy tackling and was lucky to escape without a yellow. A free kick from El Ghazi on 4 minutes went over the bar, and a speculative cross by El Ghazi on 8 minutes broke the deadlock. Somehow Alderweireld got in a right old tangle, didn't clear the ball, and Lloris also stayed on his line, and Alderweireld ended up prodding it into his own net. So Villa won up. But Spurs took the initiative after that, and they started to grow in confidence. El Ghazi gave up possession on the 14th minute, and Moura ran into the box, and he laid it off beautifully for Dele, but the shot was blocked. Douglas Luiz looked pretty good in possession, and then he was set up by a Grealish break on the left, but again Davis got in the way to block the shot, and on the break Dele headed over, and then into added time, a bit of a mix-up in Villa's box. They'd been guilty of some sloppy defending earlier and hadn't been punished, but this time, following a corner, they failed to clear, and it came to Alderweireld, who swung neatly and hit a lovely rising shot that went into the roof of the net, and so that levelled things up. And that was 26 minutes, and 1-1. So Alderweireld scored both goals, and he was very well pleased at that, I can tell you. Then towards the latter part of the half, Lloris didn't look entirely comfortable, flapped at a corner. On 35 minutes, a delightful pass through to Dele, which split the defence wide open. He was one-on-one with Reina, but the goalkeeper stood strong, and Dele's flick went wide. Then minute 41, a couple of sharp chances for Spurs, and both efforts blocked from Dele and Bergwijn. Sorry, I'll get that pronunciation in a minute. There was an incident which required VAR but no penalty, and then right on the half-time whistle, Engels managed to bring down Bergwijn after he'd lost possession, and the referee awarded the penalty. Son stepped up, and Reina saved the spot, but it returned at the feet of Son, who just flicked it wide of the keeper this time, and so Spurs had gone in front. They turned it round, and that was the score at the break. Spurs ahead by 2-1. Into the second half then, and Bergwijn, who was looking dangerous on the break, very nippy, a last tackle gasp sent the ball through to a corner, and then on 53 minutes, deservedly, Villa got the equaliser. Engels heading in from a cross to level things, so it's 2-2. 68 minutes, Moura fed Son, and his shot was dealt with again by Reina. And the man who's come across from Italy, the ex-Liverpool keeper, was having a very good game. 73 minutes, another great block by him, denied Dele, who was clean through. And it was looking like we might end up equal 2-2 as we approached the last 10 minutes. Grealish was continuing to look impressive. He surely must get a call up by Southgate for England for the Euros. Moura in space in the box from a corner but his header wasn't powerful enough, although it was tipped away for a corner. And 84 minutes, Rayner again pushed a vicious Son shot wide, and then another stop from Son from a Son shot by Rayner on 85. But unfortunately on 93 minutes, a dreadful defensive error by Engels, and the ball went under his foot, and Son capitalised, and he's got a turn of pace, and he ran into the bot and clipped it wide of Rayner, and Spurs had stolen the show. They were ahead by 3-2, and shortly after that the full-time whistle. Unlucky Villa, but I've said that many times this season. They always seem to lack that ability to hold on to what they've got. Mourinho absolutely delighted, his team now up to 5th. So final score at Villa Park, Aston Villa 2, Spurs 3. The late game was at the Emirates, Arsenal at home to Newcastle. Newcastle bringing good form into this match. Lacazette was on the bench, his goal drought continued. Nketiah was selected, as was Ceballos, who I haven't seen too much of him. So Socrates on the bench, and Moses Ozil also in the side. Rose, the new Newcastle signing, was in their starting lineup. Shah on the bench with Lejeune. Early action, and it was at the Arsenal end. A defective shot pushed wide by Leno. St. Maximin was looking dangerous on that left side, but eventually on 20 minutes, first effort for the Gunners, Saka, it just went over Dubrovka's bar. 31 minutes then, Aubameyang had an effort which was straight at Dubrovka, and 7 minutes later Ozil put through Aubameyang, but again his shot was deflected over, and Pepe had a chance. He was getting more into the game, but again Dubrovka good enough. So at the break it was goalless. Newcastle good value for that half-time score, but I don't know what happened after they came out from the chat with Bruce, but things absolutely fell apart. Pepe was particularly influential. He had a volley early on that hit the bar and then went over, and then a cross on 53 minutes found Aubameyang, and he managed to jump head and shoulders above everybody and headed the ball in the corner. Well beaten Dubrovka, and that was 1-0. A few minutes later, good work by Saka, who managed to get between two defenders in the box, and he set it up neatly for Pepe, whose strike hit the goal, and so the Gunners in 3 minutes had gone 2 up. And it got worse on 74 minutes. St. Maximin did it at post, but 2 more late goals for the Gunners. Ozil converted a third after an assist from Lacazette, who'd come on, and even Lacazette, who'd been on a goal drought, he managed to add a 4th in added time. There were a few half chances for Newcastle, but they really fell apart. So the best win under Arteta for Arsenal. They took this game by 4-0. I have to say it rather flattered them, but you can't deny the fact that if you score 4 goals at home, you must be doing something right. So final score at the Emirates then, Arsenal 4, Newcastle 0. So I'm going to put together a package for this weekend, although I'll be delivering that following tonight's match between Chelsea and Manchester United. So you have to wait one more day for those results. So to the Monday night fixture then, it was at Stamford Bridge, Chelsea at home to Manchester United. The reverse fixture on the first day of the season saw United win 4-0, although it did flatter them. Team news, Caballero still in instead of Kepa, Batshuayi and Pedro was selected. Mount on the bench, and Abraham is injured. For United, Bailly was in, Lindelof is injured. That's his first game for a long time alongside Maguire. And the new signing, the Portuguese Fernandes, was selected. Pereira, Greenwood and Ogalo on the bench for the Reds. Early action, 5 minutes. Reece James on the right got a shot in, and it was a pretty good one as well. And on replay, De Gea got a faintest of touches which pushed it round the post. 8 minutes, and another marauding run down the right. Problems for sure. He wasn't really getting to the pace of the action down there. Willian, anyway, came inside. His shot though went well wide. And on 11 minutes, some nice interplay between Fred and Fernandes, but eventually the shot was blocked. Then a gilt-edged chance on 25 minutes for Batshuayi from a neat setup by Mount, who'd already come on as a sub. But Matchday unfortunately made a right hash of it. United had been on the back foot, but on 44 minutes they created a great chance on the right. Basaka managed to evade his marker, got a yard of space, a lovely right foot cross, and Martial managing to get above, I think it was Zuma. How he did that I'll never know, but his header was definitely flicked into the corner wide of Caballero, and United went into their half-time break 1-up. So second half action, an early chance of game for Chelsea. Set up Mount, Batshuayi that was, but the referee spotted a handball, which is just as well because it caused a hell of a problem for De Gea. On 54 minutes, a Pedro effort was blocked after some desperate defending by United's back four, and finally a minute later they succumbed. Well, we thought they succumbed anyway. Zuma, an instinctive finish from a Willian corner, but VAR had a look at it and they spotted a push by Azpilicueta on Williams, which prevented him challenging for the ball. So the goal was chalked off. So it remained 1-0. And 10 minutes later, United had doubled the lead. A Fernandes corner, and Maguire launched himself at it high above everybody else, and his header flashed into the corner low of Caballero, and so United were 2-up. 72 minutes, Kovacic had a shot blocked by the Reds, and then on 76 minutes Giroud had come on, and he got his head to a Mount cross, and it flew in the net, and we thought, right, well, it's back to 2-1. None of it. VAR had a look, and Giroud's foot was in an offside position, so for the second time the goal was chalked off. United still 2-0 up. Chelsea took the wind out of them a little bit, really. There was a free kick 2 minutes from the end when Mount hit a post, but the final whistle arrived. United had done the double over Chelsea, a bit fortuitous I suppose, but their defence had been pretty solid. Lampard in interview was pretty pragmatic about it all, and said that we created enough chances but we still aren't taking them, which about sums it up. So final score at Stamford Bridge, Chelsea 0, Manchester United 2. So there's still one game hanging over, of course, which is the rearranged Manchester City West Ham. But anyway, this is the results show. A quick look at the tables. Liverpool now 76 points, 25 points ahead of Manchester City. City playing tonight. 1 point back in third on 50 of Leicester. Chelsea is still in fourth, but they're only a point ahead of Spurs now on 41. And in sixth and seventh respectively, Sheffield United 39 points and Man U 38. Wolves are on 36, Everton likewise, and Arsenal and Burnley make up the top half on 34. Into the bottom half now, and Newcastle and Southampton on 31. A point under them are Crystal Palace. Then we've got Brighton 27, Bournemouth 26, Villa 25, and the bottom three, West Ham and Watford on 24, and Norwich detached on 18. So it's looking pretty grim for the Canaries, I must admit. Looking a little better for Manchester United, and of course there is this issue about Manchester City being banned for 2 years from the Champions League starting next season. So it could be that 5th place might get into that Champions League, so that's worth thinking about. And so let's reflect a little bit on this week's events, and one has to suggest that there's been some average matches, I would say, but I did find the match at Villa Park to be an exciting one. And I thought Southampton's was a good match against Burnley. Goal of the week. Well, I'm really quite struggling here. Mane's goal was obviously a good one. Son's winner for Spurs, excellent. And Martial's header and Maguire's header, certainly worth thinking about. And then Arsenal scored some good goals as well. So basically I'm undecided, so I'm going to give it to Martial. Okay, that's your lot.